Happy New Year. This is Tom Smith, and I'm making this video hopefully to remind you of what we talked about on November 21st and to help you be prepared for our time together on January 31st. What I'd like to do is I'd like to walk through the unit planning template, some of the resources that are attached to that, and hopefully get you in a position so that you are coming to the meeting on January 31st ready to rock and roll. So here we go. You're going to find the documents that we're talking about in this planning e-folder. I am in the Breckenridge Science Curriculum Committee team drive, and I've got folders here. This folder right here has the documents that we're talking about. All right, so here's the contents of that folder. You'll notice that each of you have a couple of different documents here. The planning guide is the red document. The template is what you're going to be filling out and sharing with us on the 31st. Please create a folder that has your grade level, kind of similar to what you see here, or if you're secondary, the name of the course that you're working on, or simply your name, and you can have different courses in that. Okay? Okay, so here's your unit template. These are where you've got all the resources for the different areas. We're going to start with establish goals. We'll touch on transfers. We'll touch on the understandings, and finally we'll end up with the essential questions. Down here, you're literally looking at what do you want kids to know and what do you want them to be able to do with what they know. Okay? Okay. When you click the link in that section, you're going to open up the Minnesota State Science Standard document. You have a hard copy of this. This is a digital copy. If you want, you can, when you find the standard that works for you, you can actually highlight this and copy and paste it into the document that you're working on. I would guess that each of your units probably is going to have at least one, maybe two standards that apply to it. The benchmarks are going to come in later, but you're going to see both of those on this particular document. The next section that we're going to talk about is transfer goals. And the set and stem for this, students will be able to independently use their learning too. And so what we're thinking here, what kinds of long-term independent accomplishments do we desire our students to be able to make? This linked document is going to take you to some information about transfer goals. So at the top of this document, you have some characteristics of transfer goals. And you can read through those. Things like they're long-term, they're performance-based, they need to be done autonomously without teacher assistance. This is what we're looking for. And then down below these characteristics, I have different examples of transfer goals that different districts have used. If one of those seems to fit for the unit that you're working with, go ahead and use it. Otherwise, you can use them as a guide to be able to write your own. The next section that we're working with here is one of understandings, and this is where they are constructing meaning of the content that we're working with, and we want students to understand. Here, the piece that you're going to find most helpful are the benchmarks that have been written for the different standards. The standards are over in this area, and we've kind of broken them down into different benchmarks. In a sense, we've unpacked the standards. Those can be listed. The ones that apply to the content that you're working on in the unit, they can be listed in this section right here. So the link for the benchmarks in the understanding section, that's going to take you to the Minnesota Frameworks site. This was developed a few years back, and what you can find here are the science standards for each of your grade levels or classes, and those can be used to find the benchmarks, and there's a lot of other information that you're going to find with this science frameworks. This is probably the place that I would go to. You're going to find that either the actual document or the science frameworks are going to be the places that you're going to find the most information about our science standards. The next piece of this is talking about essential questions, and they are related to your understandings. Typically, for each of the benchmarks that I work with in a unit, I'm going to come up with either one or two essential questions that I can use to drive that learning. And if you open the document for the essential questions, you're going to find some information and some examples about them. So here is the document. And again, just like in the transfer document, at the top of this, I have some characteristics of good essential questions. A lot of times in my teaching, at the beginning of a lab, I would have a guiding question that also showed up in my document as an essential question. Again, we're talking about open-ended questions, things that are thought-provoking, engaging, higher level thinking. And if you want examples, I've got a number of websites here that provide you examples. Plus, down below this, there are actual examples of essential questions for different science units that you're working with. So here is the actual unit template form that you're going to be filling out. And just to make sure we're on the same page with this, we have been talking about stage 1. This is where the standards are going to go. Here are your transfer goals. This is your benchmarks, essential questions. Down here, this is what we want students to know from our unit. This is what we want them to be able to do. This is the only part of this template that I would encourage you to have filled out. And you really only need to have one unit filled out by the 31st. If you have more than that, great. But I'd like to be able to talk about one of your units that you have worked out. The evidence, stage 2, is a topic that we'll be talking about on the 31st. The learning plan comes at the end. And again, this is in the Team Drive folder. So there you have it. If you have any questions about what I've talked about here, please email me. I will be very responsive to whatever you're asking. When we get together on the 31st, I'd like to continue our discussions regarding this. If you have any concerns about the 31st, of things that you would like to talk about, please let me know or let your principals know, and they can communicate as well. So, good luck. Enjoy this month. It's always nice to get January over with. So I'll see you on the 31st. Bye-bye.